You ask ChatGPT to pull 3 numbers out of a report, and it hands you back 4 numbers, a motivational speech, and 1 figure it flat out made up. That's the whole reason we're here. Because when you're comparing Claude versus ChatGPT for work, the thing nobody tells you is that being smart and staying on task are 2 completely different skills. And one of these tools is a lot better at the second one. So let me give you the plain answer right up front, and then I'll show you exactly why it's true. For real business tasks where accuracy matters, Claude tends to stay focused and stick to what you actually gave it. ChatGPT is often more creative and more fun to talk to, but it's more willing to wander off, fill in gaps, and invent things that sound right. Both have a free tier and a paid tier you should check for yourself, because those change constantly. The surface answer is that simple. The deeper question, which one belongs in your actual workflow, is what the rest of this is for. Here's the loop I want you to hold on to. By the end, you'll know which one to reach for the second something has to be right and which one to keep around for everything else. Stick with me, because the place these 2 split apart is not where most people think. Quick thing before we get into it. This channel is sponsored by NBC Canada Inc., a bookkeeping firm built for trades and construction businesses. If your books are a mess and you feel blind on your own numbers, they fix the disaster choking your business so you can finally see your cash and control it. There's a free trades bookkeeping scorecard linked at the very top of the description that shows you how much money your business is quietly losing. Go grab it, then come right back, because this next part matters. Let's start with what these tools actually are, in plain English. Both Claude and ChatGPT are AI chat assistants. You type a request, they write back. Both can read documents, draft emails, summarize long text, write code, and hold a long back and forth conversation. On paper, they do the same job. That's exactly why people get stuck choosing. But the personalities are different, and the personality is the whole story. Think of ChatGPT as a clever coworker who's great in a brainstorm, full of ideas, quick, a little too eager to impress. Now, think of Claude as the careful coworker who reads the brief twice before answering and tells you when something isn't in the file. Neither one is smarter. They just default to different behavior when the question gets messy, and that difference barely shows up on easy tasks. Ask either one to write a birthday message or explain what a mortgage is, and you'll get a great answer from both. The gap only opens up when the task has real constraints, when there's a right answer and a wrong answer, when you handed it your actual data and you need it to respect that data instead of improvising. That's the moment these 2 stop looking like twins. So the real test isn't which one is better, it's which one stays inside the lines you drew. And to see that, we have to give them a job with lines. Here's where the whole thing turns. The single biggest difference between these tools for work is what happens when the AI doesn't know something, because it will hit that wall constantly. A missing number, a detail that's not in the document, a question the source material just doesn't answer. ChatGPT, by default, is more likely to fill that gap. It wants to be helpful, so it reaches for the most plausible sounding thing and hands it to you with total confidence. That's the behavior people call hallucination. It's not lying, it's guessing, and dressing the guess up like a fact. Claude tends to lean the other way. When something isn't in what you gave it, it's more likely to say so, or to flag that it's unsure, instead of smoothing over the hole. Let me walk one example through both. Say you paste in a 2-page vendor contract and ask, what's the late payment penalty? If that penalty clause exists, both tools find it, no problem. But say it isn't actually in the contract, the creative brain is tempted to give you a typical penalty, something that sounds standard, because standard sounds right. The careful brain is more likely to tell you the contract doesn't mention one. In your business, those 2 answers are not close. One sends you into a negotiation armed with a real fact, the other sends you in armed with a confident hallucination that could cost you. That's the core of the angle. It's not that ChatGPT is dumb. It's that its instinct to be helpful becomes a liability the exact moment you need it to just report what's there. And most business work is exactly that. Report what's there. Don't add. Now, let me be fair, because this cuts both ways, and pretending otherwise would make me a liar. The same eagerness that makes ChatGPT wander is the same thing that makes it genuinely better at a whole category of work. When there's no single right answer, ChatGPT's willingness to run with an idea is a feature, not a bug. Give it a boring product and ask for 10 ad angles, and it'll throw a pile of options at you, some of them genuinely good. Ask it to loosen up a stiff email, brainstorm names for a new service, or riff on a social post. and that creative energy earns its keep. It writes with more personality out of the box. It's more fun to bounce ideas off. For the messy, generative front end of a project, that eagerness is worth a lot. Claude can absolutely brainstorm too, but its personality is more even, more measured. Ask it for wild ideas and it tends to give you sensible ones. That's the trade. So think of it like this: when you want volume and surprise and you'll edit down later, the creative brain is your friend. When you want one careful answer you can trust without checking every word, the focused brain is your friend. And here's the part that trips people up. They pick one tool, marry it, and then force it to do the job it's worst at. Then they blame the tool. The move isn't picking a winner. It's knowing which brain the task in front of you actually needs. Which brings us to the task where the gap gets brutal. Give both tools a short prompt and they're neck and neck. Give them a long, dense document and ask them to stay faithful to it, and the difference gets loud. This is where a lot of real business work lives. Contracts, reports, policy docs, long email threads, meeting transcripts. The challenge with a long document is holding all of it in mind at once and not drifting. When you ask for a summary, the tempting failure is to grab the flashy parts, smooth over the boring parts, and quietly invent a connecting sentence that wasn't there. Claude is generally built to chew through long text and stay literal to what it read. It tends to keep the details straight and resist adding its own narrative. That's why a lot of people reach for it when the source material is big and the accuracy has to hold across all of it. Let me make it concrete. Say you feed in a long meeting transcript and ask, what did we agree to do and who owns each task? The focused approach pulls the actual commitments, ties each one to the person who said it, and leaves out the small talk. The wandering approach might merge two people's points. Assign a task to the wrong person because it sounds tidier, or add an action item nobody actually agreed to. In a summary, a confident wrong line is worse than no line because you'll act on it without a second look. This is the beat that changed how I think about these tools. On a one-line question, the risk of drift is tiny. On a 50-line document, every one of those lines is a chance to wander and the errors stack. The longer and more important the input, the more staying on task is worth. And that's not a personality preference. That's your afternoon on the line. Here's a quieter difference that matters more than it sounds. How well each tool follows a precise, multi-part instruction. Not a vibe, a spec. Say you ask for exactly 5 bullet points, no more. In plain language, under 100 words, no fluff. That's 4 rules in one sentence. The creative brain sometimes gives you 6 bullets because the 6 was too good to cut, or slips back into a flowery tone because that's its comfort zone. The focused brain is more likely to hit all 4 rules as written, even the boring ones. When you're building something repeatable, a template, a format your team relies on, a data cleanup, that obedience is the entire value. Walk it through. You want to turn 20 messy customer reviews into a clean table with 3 columns: rating, main complaint, 1-line summary. The tool that follows instructions gives you a tidy table, 20 rows, 3 columns, done. The tool that improvises might add a 4th column it thought would be helpful, rewrite your ratings into its own scale, or editorialize on the complaints. Now, you're fixing its help instead of using your table. Extra creativity you didn't ask for is just extra cleanup. So the pattern is holding across every beat. The more your task looks like a set of rules to follow instead of a blank page to fill, the more the focus tool pulls ahead. And there's one more place this shows up that catches people off guard. Both tools sound sure of themselves, always. That's the trap. Neither one puts a little wobble in its voice when it's guessing. The made-up answer arrives in the exact same confident tone as the correct one. That means you can't judge accuracy by how confident the answer feels. You judge it by which tool is more likely to be right when you can't check and more likely to warn you when it's unsure. That second habit is underrated. A tool that says, this part isn't in your document, just saved you from acting on a fantasy. A tool that quietly fills the gap, handed you a landmine wrapped in a bow. This is why the which one is smarter debate is a distraction. On a good day, they're both plenty smart. What you actually care about at work is which one fails safely. Which one, when it doesn't know, tells you instead of bluffing. That habit is worth more than a few extra IQ points you'll never notice. So the scoreboard is clear. Creative front end, idea generation, tone and personality. ChatGPT earns its spot. Accuracy, long documents, exact instructions, failing safely when it doesn't know. Claude tends to take it. That's the honest split. But knowing the split and knowing what to do with it are two different things, and that second part is where a real opinion has to come in. So we've laid out where each tool genuinely wins and where each one breaks. Creative wandering versus careful focus. The gap that only opens when the task has a right answer. The way both bluff with the same confident face. That's the objective comparison, and it's all true no matter who you are. Now for the part that actually decides whether any of this is worth your time. Whether a busy business owner should even keep 2 of these around or just pick one and move on. Claude is obviously the clear winner, especially with the release of Fable 5. Fable 5 is literally overpowered and the best model in the world right now. If you want to use AI for work, you use Anthropic and you use Claude Fable 5, or you use Opus 4.8 because it's cheaper. I use Claude every day, 12 hours a day for all of my work. It controls my browser and it builds automation pipelines. Another thing that Claude has is transparency. When you're using ChatGPT or Codex, you can't actually see every command it's making in the code or what exactly it's editing in the code. With Codex, with any of the models, you can. It's very transparent, so you could be doing work in Codex to automate something, and if you see something slightly out of the direction you want it to head, you can interrupt the agent and ask them what they're doing. That's a very powerful part about Anthropic Claude. It's very transparent when it's working. Another thing is just that it's smarter. Like, it's just a workhorse, and it is smarter than ChatGPT. The real thing about ChatGPT is it will gaslight you. It will fill in the gaps with guesses. That is not something you want when you're running a business. Coming from a guy who's running 2 businesses and building a SaaS product, the clear winner here is Claude. If you don't know how to use Claude, guess what? There's YouTube. Go learn how to automate with Claude Code in VS Code. Everyone's using their terminal, and the terminals are so clunky. Visual Studio Code is an IDE, and it is just way better than using the terminal with the claw and the Claude extension in VS Code. I can't reiterate this enough. It's just so much better. The one thing I would say though is that Claude is expensive. It's quite a bit more expensive than ChatGPT, but if you're making money in a business and you're profitable, the prices shouldn't really matter unless you have like 15 employees all power using Claude. Okay, now that can get pretty expensive, and you're going to want to start using the lower models to do grunt work. For example, my workflow is Claude uses Kimi to do all the work, and then Anthropic looks over Kimi's code, and then I have Codex come in and do an adversarial review, and then I have that loop run until there are no more bugs. If you want to automate your business, use Claude. If you want to be lied to and have plausible sounding guesses, use ChatGPT. It's truly up to you. Here's a simple rule I'd hand a friend. Sort your task into one of 2 buckets before you even open a tool. If there's no single correct answer and you want ideas, energy, and personality, reach for the creative one and enjoy it. If there's a right answer, if you handed it your real data, or if you won't be checking every line yourself, reach for the focused one that stays literal and tells you when it's unsure. And you don't have to marry one. Most people who do this work seriously keep both open and switch based on the job in front of them. The mistake is loyalty. Picking a favorite and then forcing it to do the one thing it's worst at, then getting frustrated when it lets you down. The tool didn't fail. The matchup did. If you only take one thing from all this, take this. The second accuracy matters more than personality. Stop asking the eager one to behave and hand the job to the careful one. Your reports, your contracts, your numbers deserve the tool that won't make something up to sound helpful. If this made the choice clearer, subscribe, because I break down these AI tools in plain English so you don't have to test 20 of them yourself. And tell me in the comments which tool you want me to put through the ringer next. Big thanks again to NBC Canada Inc. for backing this one. If your trades or construction books are a mess, grab their free bookkeeping scorecard at the link up top and see exactly how much money your business is losing. I'll see you in the next one.